Welcome to this circle. We're so glad you're here. Tonight we come together just as we are, in whatever place we find ourselves. We gather to lean into the strength of who we are together, seeking comfort, seeking courage. Our hearts are broken open by the losses of those we love, by the loss of health, identity, relationships. As we gather, we grieve the state of our planet, the social and economic pain that is born of poverty and inequity. And we lament the terror of war and the struggles born of the abuses of power over one another. We come into this circle to share the spectrum of emotions that we feel in this season. And together we create a safe and honest place to be with each other. We may find our hearts as preoccupied as Bethlehem was occupied in the first century and is occupied today. We may be preoccupied with our memories, or our anxieties, our fears. We may be occupied by our loneliness or by our worries for the world. But we come with each other to kindle a flame of hope. A spark of possibility. A spark of strength in the songs that we sing, in the stories we share, in the ritual we do, in the community we create with each other. And as we gather, we pause in the gift of music to bring ourselves from getting here to being here.
We come together as a community journeying through this season of Christmas expectations. And we too come together to share compassion and seek wisdom in this emotion-filled season. And so we acknowledge the many facets of this season. In the glitter of tinsel and the hum of merriment, we meet our memories and face our reality. In the winter's short light and long darkness, we acknowledge the shadows of loss that threaten to overwhelm us. In the snow-blanketed fields and the icy breath of cold, we find warmth and care of each other and dreams of longer light. In the boughs of green, despite shrouded with snow, we look for signs of new life in the depths of winter. In the stories of this Christmas season, we open our spirits to the courage of living. In the common quiet of this evening, we join together our hearts, our intentions, our grief, our sadness, and our hope and expectation. We join it together as we pray, as one, with these words. We come as weary travelers, seeking wisdom in the stars and shelter in this circle we create together. We come as curious shepherds, not knowing what we will find in this season. We come newly born into each moment of our lives. We come with our hope that when we find ourselves in the unexpected and in the unwelcome, we may find the courage to make our way. Where anxiety threatens to overwhelm us, we search for serenity. In this night, which will become a new day, may we awaken to our deepest calling, to be dwelling places of divine love and light. May it be so.
Christian scriptures give us two stories from the first century that shape this season for us. Tonight we hear Matthew's version of that story in the 2nd chapter. In the time when Herod was king and Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise ones came from the east to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star at its rising and have come to pay our honor." When Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where this Messiah was to be born. His advisors told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Israel, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people.'" Then Herod secretly called the wise men and learned from them the exact time the star had appeared. And then he sent them to Bethlehem, and he said, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I too may come and pay my honor." When they heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down with reverence. And they opened their treasure chests. They offered gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. I love this story of these exotic travelers and a paranoid king and the discovery of new life in a place no one would think to look for it. And in all of its strangeness, it's such a familiar story. It's the archetypal hero's journey, just like Dorothy's journey to Oz or Alice in Wonderland or the adventures of Harry Potter. It's the story of leaving all that is familiar, the ordinary and the mundane, to undertake a life-changing journey, to meet the invariable shadows that shape character, to be confronted by those challenges that would seem to make the journey dead end, and to be transformed by finding love, truth, beauty, and then ultimately to return where one began, but to be reborn and recreated by the journey. It is one of those formulaic stories that we tell in every age and in every culture as a way of orienting ourselves towards the nature of life. It's a story we recognize right away because we don't just tell this story, we all live this story. And when we cast these characters in our pageants, the astrologers are the heroes of this story, and Herod is the villain. And finding the child is like discovering the hidden treasure. It's the pivotal discovery that changes their direction and sends them home as different people than those who began this journey. But it strikes me that the leading role in this story isn't played by the Magi. It isn't played by the mad king. It isn't even played by the child they sought. The leading role in this story is played by the star. It's the star that moves the story forward, and the others are just supporting actors. In the world of the story, it's this new star that appears in the night sky that prompts them to begin this long journey. It's this star that leads them from Herod's palace in Jerusalem to a house in Bethlehem where they found what they traveled so long to see. I love that the story chooses a star to direct their journey. It could have chosen anything, but it settled on a star long before we would know that every birth is a miracle forged in the stars. That each of us and everything that is shines with the radiance of a star that was born, burned with the brightness in its time and was transformed by its death into a cloud of gases from which we all trace our ancestry. What was just a dense dot of matter in the creativity of death gives birth to all the elements that form us and our planet. But our travelers no sooner discover what they've traveled so far to find when they lose the star. As soon as they find the child, the star disappears from the story, never to be seen or heard from again. That great spiritual teacher in the sky, that mentor of transformation, that which they could count on, that which they put their trust in, the hero of the journey leaves the stage and never returns to the story again. We've come to call these travelers wise, and I think we're right to do so. Because when the light moved inward, they could still see it. When their light for the journey moved from the heavens to the heart, they could still see it. When the light changed form from the star to the dream, they could still see it. When they lost sight of the light that was outside of them, they were still able to find it within them. The trusted light of their dreams came to be relied on in the same way that they had trusted the light of the star. In so many ways, this is the journey we each undertake in grief, where once we found a particular radiance outside of ourselves, something that shone brightly in another. When our sky grows dark and we lose a particular light, our dreams awaken, our memories awaken, and we're invited to discover a light that has moved inward. In his poem, the cure. Albert Hofstadter expressed it this way: we think we get over things. We don't get over things. Or say, we get over the measles, but not a broken heart. We need to make that distinction. The things that become part of our experience never become less a part of our experience. How can I say it? The way to get over a life is to die. Short of that, you move with it. Let the pain be pain. Not in the hope that it will vanish, but in the faith that it will fit in. Find its place in the shape of things. And be then not any less pain, but be true to form. Because anything natural has an inherent shape and will flow towards it. And a life is as natural as a leaf. That's what we're looking for. Not the end of a thing, but the shape of it. Wisdom is seeing the shape of your life without getting over a single instant of it. Maybe that's what we're looking for in this season. Looking for the new shape of love, truth, beauty, born of our grief. A shape that honors the starlight that has become dreamlight. A shape that's true to its form. And so, like the stars we hold in our hands, the stars that shine in our hearts, invite us into the gentle wisdom to see the light that is moved within. And so we light this candle for wisdom. That we may be wise enough to see light wherever it shines. Where it shines in our memories, in our hope, in our love of friends and family, in the stars, and in our dreams. And we light this candle that we might be diligent travelers, finding wisdom beyond us and within us. And like the Magi of old, we light this candle that we may have the light we need for the next step to find our way.
A poem by Alice Major, The Muse of Universes. Once in a trillion years, the Muse of Universes claps her hands, and with that shock of light reverses an eon of drift, dilution, the outward rolling wave of dark, and the illusion of end times. A new draft, she orders, and the universe erupts into rhyme, fields and forces echoing. She rebuts formlessness, sparks stanzas from an alphabet of particles, spells out what matters, what radiates, what tickles the fancy into galaxies with gravity's feather pen. She unrolls the scroll of space and says, "There, Now try again. The birth of a star does begin with collapse. Dust and gas in dark clouds begin collapsing in on themselves and exert so much pressure, so much energy and force, pushing and pulling, that the atoms in this collapsing cloud begin to fuse together, creating enormous and chaotic amounts of heat and light. And out of this, a star is born in a cloud of a collapse. That light then takes a journey, moving through the vacuum of space, traveling as far and as long as really anyone could ever hope to imagine or quantify. The beloved light we see from our star is 8 minutes old when it hits our eyeballs. A quick trip from the light of our sun to travel to our small third planet. But when we ponder the others in our night sky, the ones that twinkle at us through the pinpricks in the blanket covering our heads, these twinkles are tens of thousands, even millions of years old. Their brilliance in our sky for the most distant far outlasts their existence. The light we see originating from a star that no longer exists. After the kind of year it's been, with events both personal and global that have rocked our stability in one way or another, we remember. From Charlie Hebdo to desperate Syrian refugees, from Nepalese earthquakes to Mecca stampedes, from downed planes to Paris attacks, from Israeli-Palestinian violence to California shootings. It is easy with the brightness and bombast of that kind of news that we fail to see the smaller lights. It's been a difficult year for global peace and for our psyches that watch it unfold. As we acknowledge the toll that this has on us, on our spirits, on our ability to hope, the stars are an ever-present reminder to continue looking to the skies. Not for answers that come in easy platitudes. We don't look up seeking the patronizing wisdom that heralds that all is under control. No, we take our cues from the cosmos, the wisdom of experiencing the cycle of collapse and birth that everything endures and through which all is created. This circle of seeming tragedy to newness again, whose light is hard to see because it still has a journey to travel. The light is at first very hard to see because it has yet to finish its journey. As Alice Major writes, the universe is constantly ordering this new draft. Something new that can erupt in rhyme, fields and forces echoing, that in some ways sparks stanzas from an alphabet of jumbled letters and particles, spelling out what matters. And perhaps when we open ourselves to the lessons of the universe, we can recognize our connection and solidarity to the cosmos, that which begins in collapse, in pressure, in chaos, in destruction, in grief even. In the mystery and darkness of a cloud, is transformed into burning flame and brilliant light that makes its journey and shines into its own future. I wonder if this can be a sign of hope that we need in this particular season of stars. Not only is the star the lead character in our stories, but also the leading wisdom in helping us find our way out of the challenge and chaotic cloud, and recognizing that that cloud, that burst, that destruction is but a beginning, whose end is something that shines beyond our own imagination, beyond our own dreaming, beyond our own expectation. That alas, we ourselves are not the recipients of our most radiant light. It will take others to see it first, to reflect it back, before such a time as we can take it in. It is this ever-evolving light that shines from the destruction of what was that will begin its journey to transform us and to transform our world. To give each other the gift of the stars is to give each other brilliance, born in darkness, but shining with the light of love, shining by and for countless others, and moving into future days and months and years with a new intensity that surpasses time and space. To give each other this gift is a light that will one day allow us to look at our lives, our years, our experiences, with awe for its journey, from collapse to glow, from light that moves across our skyline. And so we light this candle of renewal. In the hope of the lights that we have yet to see. In the hope of the light that has yet to reach us. We light this candle that we might find that our most difficult times and our most challenging realities are but the birth of a light that will journey outward from us and into our world. We light this candle of renewal in the hope that its reflection might return to us in order to light the way.
As we hold this light in our hands, we pause to pray with one another. We pause in the stillness. In these nights growing longer, we seek the shelter of community in our darkness. We come to share our tears, to grieve the losses in our lives and the wounds of our world. We come openly, seeking serenity. In the shelter of this darkness, we dare to speak honestly about the state of our planet. May we find the courage and conviction to turn our hearts and our hands to heal our air and our soil and our water. In the shelter of this darkness, we dare to speak honestly about the people and places where war or hunger, violence, oppression and occupation, disease or disaster has broken land, broken communities, broken families, and broken hearts. We pause to pray this night that we might find the ways to mend our warring madness, to share our power and our resources, to see our common humanity and our shared destiny, to extinguish cruelty and ignite our compassion. In the shelter of this darkness, we remember those who need the strength of presence. We remember those who are sick, those who are dying, those who are hoping for healing, those who are waiting for help. We remember those whose memories are scarred by tragedy, by abuse, by accidents, by the fate-filled turning of time. And we hold this light in our hands as we hold these in the embrace of our love. In the solitude of this darkness, we acknowledge our grief, those whom death has taken from our presence, from the circle of our family, from the circle of our friends, from the circle of our spiritual community. We acknowledge our grief over what might have been, and our grief over what was and cannot be any longer. We acknowledge in our grieving that we lament that we've survived and ones we love have died. We laugh and cry our way into the realities we face, and in the safety of this circle, we name in silence now those whose light we hold in our hands and hold in our hearts. In the gift of time, and in the comfort of community, and in the wisdom of the stars and of our dreams, may we carry our losses in ways that turn us towards our compassion and our hope. In the solitude of this darkness, we remember what is beyond words. May we find the honesty and serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, the wisdom to know the difference, the patience for the things that take time, the appreciation for all that we have, understanding for those with different struggles, the freedom to live beyond the limitations of our past, the ability to feel loved and to love each other, and the strength to try again. With the wisdom of our stories and our lived experience, may we offer each other strength for today, courage for tomorrow, peace for all that is and was and will be. We pray as those born of light and ever seeking light. May it be so.
As we go into this night, may it be with the companions of wisdom and renewal. May it be with the company of those who walk with us. May it be with the sacred light that we all share with each other, with the world, with our entire cosmos. May we go into this night as we take this light with us in whatever form we need it to be. And may we go with the light of peace and the way of hope to light our path.